Good morning, I'm Robert Tan. Join us as we follow the money from the financial choices that shape your daily life to the bigger choice forces driving the economy. The headlines. President Marcos' state visit locks in $3.4 billion in new Japan investment pledges. What does it really mean for the economy? Sabotage in the power grid. The NGCP probes the May transmission outage, with the grid operator requesting PNP assistance. Amid tensions in the Middle East, U.S. President Donald Trump rejects any move to ease sanctions on Iran. And is the middle class being squeezed? We break down how national tax collections may be impacting everyday Filipinos with Mon Abrea, global tax policy expert. For our top story, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s state visit secures $3.4 billion in new Japan investment pledges. Ayala Corporation signed technology and smart city infrastructure agreements with Mitsubishi Corporation, MUFG Bank, and KDDI Corporation, with Marcos witnessing the signing of Memoranda of Understanding in Tokyo. The Philippine Presidential Communications Office said the partnerships advance digital finance, AI-driven infrastructure, and smart city development as part of the country's push to attract high-value investments. Meanwhile, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines is investigating possible sabotage in the May transmission outage. In a submission to the House of Representatives, the NGCP said it has not ruled out sabotage and has asked the Philippine National Police for assistance. This comes amid scrutiny over red and yellow grid alerts from May 13 to 15, linked by critics to transmission infrastructure failures. The NGCP also denied failing to properly notify regulators on the tripping of two 500 kilovolt lines. It said it immediately informed the Department of Energy and the Energy Regulatory Commission via text and email. In world news, U.S. President Donald Trump denies reports that the United States is considering easing sanctions on Iran to allow it to sell crude oil into the global market. Trump said Washington was not discussing any, quote, giving money to Iran.
We have control of money that they claim is theirs. We'll keep control of that money. When they behave properly and when they do what's right, we'll let them have their money. But right now, we're not doing that, and it's one thing is not contingent on the other.
Up next, every payday, millions of Filipinos automatically pay their taxes. But as price keeps rising, many in the middle class are asking, are they carrying too much of the burden? Tax expert Mon Abrea breaks it down when we return. Keep following the money. Welcome back to Follow the Money. Data shows the middle class contributes a large share of the country's tax collections. Lower income households receive government social support, while higher income groups have greater financial flexibility. Meanwhile, many middle class Filipinos feel they are caught in the middle, hit by taxes and inflation. Is a fair tax system still possible? And to help us break that down, we're joined this morning by tax expert Mon Abrea. Good morning, Mon, and welcome to Follow the Money.
Thank you, Robert. I think your show is following me. I just landed last night from Sydney, and we're here live.
Just like last time, you're
Like
live from
last time,
Korea.
yes.
But a lot has happened since then, since we
In
last
2 weeks, yes.
But now let's focus on the middle class. You know, Mon, your data shows that 82% of personal income tax comes from salaried employees. Now, while high-earning individuals and professionals just contribute about 4%. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, how did the system end up so heavily lopsided against everyday workers?
Well, you can look at it in two ways. The good side is the withholding tax system works because you practically pass the burden of collecting to the employees or the employers or to the companies. So they withhold it and remit it to the government. While we don't necessarily say that they're entirely correct or that there's no loopholes there, but at least they're able to collect that much, to contribute 82% of the total personal income tax collection. Unfortunately, the other side, the high net worth, the professionals, there's so much flexibility and loopholes. If you don't declare under the voluntary system, BIR has to audit you. But BIR can only audit so much. They are, what, less than 10,000 or less than 5,000 examiners versus 118 million Filipinos, or let's just say at least the 4 to 10 million professionals. How can you audit them other than the corporations pa?
How has it become so lopsided, the difference in the tax system from the middle class and those who are wealthy?
Well, the first is that train law should have corrected it, but it got stuck up after the 2018 implementation of the train law. Other than the fact that we should continue to index it to inflation, we should also consider the fact that the middle class are, as you've said, trapped in the middle. They don't get subsidy, but they don't get as much billions as the billionaires who can create offshore accounts and make more investments outside the country. Middle class can do that. One sickness can drain their savings. So that's why it's important not to ask for relief, but to address the injustice, which is to increase the take-home pay and finally give them more purchasing power.
That is why there's an argument there. Why is there that disconnect when the middle class is one of the biggest contributors in tax and it's automatically taken out? So why is that happening? Maybe
for some reason, the government has taken them for granted because they can take care of themselves. They don't complain so much. They don't need much help, which is wrong because in first world country, that is exactly why the taxes are high. Everything is public good, meaning everything is provided by the government. Education, health, infrastructure, public transport. Unfortunately, in the Philippines, those were the, if not barely felt, these are the least in terms of quality and accessibility, that even the poorest of the poor will have to go through politicians to get guarantee letters or endorsements. And the middle class...
utang na loob mo pa.
Exactly. And Robert, the two of us and along with the rest of the middle class would not fall in line and go to these politicians. So we'll have to take care of ourselves. Either mangungutang ka or charge it to your credit card and all. But again, that is not correct. That's why we are asking the government now, in the midst of this crisis, to instead of just suspending VAT, which will cost us more and benefit the rich more, why don't we just increase our take-home pay and let us take care of ourselves? Anyway, for the longest time, we're taking care of ourselves.
Now, you talked about inflation. Now, when inflation spikes, when crises happen, lawmakers immediately scramble to pass the short-term subsidies and aids. We have so many of that that we've been seeing during this crisis. Now, you've argued that this misses the point and we need structural justice instead. Now, what is the difference for a worker's actual wallet when you say that?
Because the reality is when you give subsidy, you are giving to either the unemployed or the minimum wage earners, which don't contribute to income tax, meaning they don't really pay taxes. While the middle class, in the midst of crisis, they will continue to pay taxes and they don't get anything from the government. And in economics, I wouldn't say it's useless, but if you help the poor, there's really no ROI because they will just you're just subsidizing their daily expenses. But if you help the middle class, you are empowering them to be savers, investors, entrepreneurs, and that will have the trickle-down effect or exponential impact to the economy. And that's what I'm saying. The government should now look at that side, which is more sustainable, bigger impact, that you are not just giving a relief, you are empowering this middle class that can actually
and adding to GDP.
Support the economy of the Philippines.
Now, Mon, you've also raised concerns about statutory discounts like senior and PWD discounts, that they are weaponized at the local level. Now, forcing the small entrepreneurs, the mom and pop shops, the businesses to absorb the costs. Now, how do we protect the vulnerable citizens without squeezing the small MSMEs?
I'll be very careful about my answer because there are so many stakeholders here. And my mom is a senior citizen and I don't want her to be calling me after this. But first, there is really no proper mechanism as to the administration of those incentives, the discount and VAT exemption. You cannot verify whether a PWD ID is legit or not. And same with the senior citizen. It's hard to monitor. How can you say that only the senior citizen is benefiting from it? Or an owner can also abuse it. How can you say that they did not eat 3 times? But again, the point is there is no way of validating to make sure that it's not abused.
Yeah.
So what we're asking is, if the national ID is really working already, that's the best way to make sure that we just give a targeted pension or support to this sector, whether the senior citizens or the PWD, because PWD ID is issued by LGU.
Yes.
It's obviously either being used to, again, political patronage or vote buying, because there's no database that guarantees that I am not a qualified PWD or that there's a consequence if I claim to be PWD person.
So what you're saying, Mon, is that it should be nationalized. It
Yes.
should not be done by the LGUs
There should be a
themselves,
database, and there should be a system to verify it. And
Yes.
don't pass the burden to MSMEs. Giving 20% discount, the lawmakers before justify it as mababalik naman daw. How can they can recover it? It's a cash discount. It's an automatic deduction from their cash sale. So my position is, better to just give the senior citizen and PWD a targeted pension or assistance rather than passing the burden to our MSMEs, and you cannot even validate or monitor whether it's abused or not. That's my only point.
Something like what SSS does, like there's a monthly, let's say, stipend
Yes.
when you're a PWD, or hindi na burden sa MSMEs.
Correct.
But how does that work on a larger scale? We can't take away that, yes, we do need to have senior citizens, and of course, our PWD citizens here in the Philippines. So where can we strike the balance there in terms of what you're saying, that for it not to be abused, and also to help the small MSMEs who already have thin margins, and then pag magkaroon ng discount pa, it really lessens.
Robert, this might not, not everyone may agree with this, but that discount can be an added income for a lot of MSMEs. So if we just revisit the law and just give them a targeted income, you are giving more income, more cash to our MSMEs, but at the same time, ano ba talagang kailangan ng senior citizen ng PWD? Healthcare,
Yes.
basic foods, basic services. So they don't really need to dine in an expensive restaurant, to shop, or
Yes.
to do all these unnecessary expenses. So if you can just provide that, I think that's more than enough, rather than give them a blanket discount and VAT exemption. Very populist, but the burden is being passed on to MSMEs, not the government.
Yes. But because you've always argued that we're paying first world taxes, but getting third world services. No. So what change needs to happen?
Well, as I've said, it's really a structural reform. From the collection side, we need to really modernize BAR and customs. We need to make sure that we don't weaponize the tax code against the small taxpayers or even the MSMEs. But instead, audit the unexplained wealth, run after the big-time tax evaders, automate it to the point that we can really make use of the data, use data analytics technology to collect the right VAT, so that we can also reduce the rate from 12 to 10, since we are the highest in the ASEAN. But on the spending side, we need to make sure that more than transparency, that if anyone will plunder or commit graft and corruption, they really go to jail, not to Senate. Because the problem in this country is it goes out in the news, but the next election, they are not just in the ballot, they win the election. So I guess many Filipinos are now realizing the mistakes, the big mistake that we all made. That's why the Senate, the Congress perform like this.
But Mon, we've seen reforms are being made. We see policies in place. Is it a problem of implementation? Because it's there. What have we learned through the past crises, in the past, that lessons that we can use today?
I think we have so many good laws, and I think you're correct in saying it's an issue more of both governance and implementation. Governance in a sense that we need leaders who are not liars, who will not lie blatantly to our faces or on national TV, or who will not spread fake news, or who will not bully citizens because they disagree with them or they bash them online. We need leaders who will really serve the public, who will use our taxes judiciously, and who will make sure that the system works for the people, not for the politicians. Like the bank secrecy. The bank secrecy for the longest time protected the rich and powerful, and most of them are in Congress. But the ordinary Filipinos, they don't even have bank account.
True.
So you will have to ask yourself, why are we not lifting bank secrecy? Because those in Congress would not let themselves expose. So again, it becomes now an issue whether it will really happen or not. But if the people will clamor for it, will demand for it, not just transparency,
Yes.
but accountability.
True.
How come that those in public service becomes richer and richer far faster than all of us who are hardworking citizens?
But are you optimistic that will be passed?
As long as we can have this discussion freely and that we don't go to jail and your program will not be shut down, I think there's a
Well, we hope
chance
not,
and we
yeah.
should be hopeful. I was just in Australia, and a lot of our Australian friends, even around Asia, are asking about the politics here in the Philippines. And we don't lie, we don't sugarcoat, but at the same time, we tell them that we continue to engage with our policymakers while they do not necessarily agree on everything that we say. But what is important is our economic and tax policies are as good as our level of trust and relationship with our government.
Actually, we'll discuss a little bit more about that later on. What I want to discuss right now and focus on is what you've always been saying is trying to increase the take-home pay of the middle class. Now, you want to make the first 1 million pesos of annual income completely tax-free, putting at least 4,000 or 12,500 pesos back to the paychecks of the employees every payday. Now, when budget officials ask you how to replace that lost revenue from those taxes, what is your exact counter move? What would you say to them?
Actually, I prepared well. So we drafted a bill already. First is the OECD global minimum tax. And we are, aside from the $220 billion annual revenue globally, we are thinking that at least 1% of that fair share will generate significant additional revenue for the Philippines, for our government. Aside from that, lifting the bank secrecy and auditing unexplained wealth, we have estimated around more than 1 trillion additional revenue. Robert, the 4,000 to 12,500 increase in take-home pay every payday would really make a lot of difference for every
That's a big
Filipino.
difference, yes.
And whatever revenue loss, which the government will definitely consider or talk about, is nothing compared to the revenue loss that we have because of corruption. So we cannot really postpone this anymore because we badly need it. And of course, the third source of revenue, and the World Bank has already manifested this, that it's very important to do the digitalization not as a computer project, but a integrated digitalization, because that will increase up to 3% of our GDP, additional revenue up to 3% of our GDP, and that's a lot. And all these things, lifting bank secrecy and running after unexplained, auditing unexplained wealth, global minimum tax, and modernization of BIR and customs, maybe we can exempt all employees. I mean, that can be a dream. But what I'm saying is we can do the number crunching, Robert. But the point is, this is exactly what we need from our policymakers to discuss these things, not the drama, the circus happening right now, but these concerns that will benefit not just the ordinary Filipino, but everyone, even our OFWs. They might decide to come home if 1 million will be tax-free.
Yeah, because a lot of people are saying, if you look on the outside, the Philippines is actually rich. Yes. The taxes are being paid, it's there, the budget's there, but then when implementation comes, it's really corruption that really takes that away.
We have so many taxes, Robert, and if only our government can utilize it properly, and even LGU, we have to really find a way to reduce the other fees in LGU, because it's hard to do business if the local and national tax will keep increasing your costs. We need to make sure that ease of doing business will translate to lesser cost of doing business.
Now let's go back to the bank secrecy law, that you're very active on that advocacy. You've called for lifting bank secrecy laws for public officials to audit unexplained wealth. Now, noting that tax evasion carries a penalty of perpetual disqualification from public office, how do we push this for this accountability within our current legal framework when those who will be passing it will be affected?
Well, honestly, we don't need to lift the bank secrecy to charge them with tax evasion. It's already in our tax code. The perpetual disqualification is enshrined in our tax code. The only thing is we don't see BIR filing charges against lawmakers who are implicated to Farm Alley, confidential fund, and the flood control scandals. That's why we call on BIR. So stop doing PR campaigns. We know that you're doing a lot of work. We know that you're collecting taxes for the government. We know that you're doing modernization project, and we recognize that. We welcome all this development. But until we see you auditing unexplained wealth and filing charges against these people whom we know obviously have amassed ill-gotten wealth, I don't think people will trust BIR. Because the problem here, Robert, is you cannot deny the fact that those in public offices are the richest in the Philippines.
But don't you think also, Mon, that part of the problem is that we as Filipinos forget easily? We've gone through so many
And
scandals.
thanks to social media. Even if we forget, we can always repost. And put it in juxtaposition alongside with the current statement that they make.
Yeah.
And here we will see, Robert, that a lot of our politicians right now are really good liars. They are best actors. They can really lie to your face and not even blink an eye. Oh my gosh. Exactly. And that's what our people should be more vigilant about. We cannot just ride on it.
You've always advocated also that we deserve better than choosing the lesser evil.
Of course.
So
I honestly think that governance is a shared responsibility. Discussing this right now is part of that governance. Putting our proposals forward, giving it to our lawmakers is part of our shared responsibility. But at the same time, let's not forget, paying our taxes is part of that. Electing the right officials is part of that. But also making sure that those we elect will not just serve us, but are also following the law and paying the taxes. That's why I think the perpetual disqualification enshrined in our tax code shows that if your public officials are not paying their taxes, they don't have any right to be in public office. And that is exactly what I'm saying. I don't need to be in BIR. We don't need all the examiners because we know already who are these rich public officials. And there are those who even claim more than 1,000 increase in their net worth in a matter of 3 years. How do you explain that? You are the best businessman or corporate lawyer. Show me your ITR.
I wish we had more time, Mon, to discuss. But before I let you go, let's go to our rapid-fire questions. It's only answerable by yes or no. You don't need to explain. Now, is it just to go harder on the wealthy if it means easing pressure on the middle class?
Yes.
Or no? That's a very strong
With all my
yes.
bias, yes.
Now, is the middle class carrying more of the real tax burden than anyone else? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, will bank secrecy reform ever pass given who sits in Congress? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, very optimistic.
If we will continue discussing it.
Can tax reform survive when it threatens those who must approve it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And finally, Mon, after everything we've unpacked, fairness, enforcement, trust, and reform resistance. Now, if the goal is a fair tax system, why does it still feel impossible to trace accountability to the very top? And in that kind of system, how do you follow the money?
Simple. You can hide your income, but you cannot hide where you spend your money. You exactly follow the money with their lifestyle, with everything that they show to the public. If it's beyond their salary, that's an unexplained wealth.
Okay, on that note, Mon, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Always great to have you here and hearing your insights. And hopefully, they will listen to you.
Yes, also.
Okay, thank you, Mon. And that's all for today. I'm Robert Tan. Every day we'll help you make sense of the financial choices and economic forces that shape everyday life. Thank you for watching. Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel and always follow the money.